Ladies, gentlemen, and Paladins fans all over the world, happy Monday and welcome back to the Paladins Console League. I am Dolson, and alongside me to start on the desk today is Gore Miser. How you feeling after the weekend, Gore?
Feeling pretty good. I'm kind of tired just because yesterday was an early day for Mother's
true.
Day, but it was worthwhile because I got to go see my mom.
You know what? And that's all that matters. In this grand,
100%,
scheme of
it was
things,
absolutely worth it.
hopefully everyone remembered. We dropped the ball. We didn't remind everyone prior to the weekend on Friday.
Yeah.
So I apologize if that was our fault. But
I
it
was
worked out in the grand.
on desk last set. That's my bad.
That's Gore's bad. Well, you
I
know who to
own that
blame.
one.
You know who to blame now. But we have a good day of Console League ahead of us. A few matches getting mixed and matched around. But I think one of the more actually the first matchup we have today is one of the more lopsided things we've seen. But one of the only teams to take a map off of Flashpoint is playing them here again today. Do you think Stush can do it again?
I'm actually interested to see if they do. One of the biggest things about it was the fact that Stush was playing on what is arguably their best map. And for some people, they would say their only map, although based on what we saw last week, I think you can start to say this is a team that knows what they're doing. They're definitely getting better, and they've been on the grind being able to take on Aaron Manor there. But I'm curious to see if they can get their split stone quarry, because that's the map they took. That was the map that looked really good for them. If that gets banned out here, then you're maybe looking at this going 4 games, but I just don't. Flashpoint's a team that's going to put foot to throat pretty much anywhere else. I don't know if they have that opportunity.
I mean, if I'm remembering correctly, I think the map that Stush did take last time was it Split Stone Quarry?
It was their only map they could play at the time.
So if you're Flashpoint here, maybe that's what you key in on and you decide, well, we're just not going to go to Split Stone Quarry. Maybe if they're feeling that way this morning.
Flashpoint map bans are going to be Frog Isle, because they always ban Frog Isle, and Split Stone Quarry.
That's right. I mean, you look at the Flashpoint roster, and you know, with all of sort of the swapping, the ins and outs that has happened in the Console League this year, they've had sort of one of the more tried and true rosters, I think, and there's no reason to change when you're playing as well as they are. And the guys whose name we say every week, time and time again, is Prosper Logic. What does he mean to this team?
Well, a lot when it comes down to it. Like, it's one of those things that I think it's on the basis, and I say this a lot whenever we have a really good DPS player, they're able to do a lot because not only they themselves are really good, but because they have a very good 3-man core in front of them. The 2 front lines they have, as well as their support, being able to buy the room for it. But Prosper last week did something that I don't think anyone was expecting. In a game with him and Skeppy, he's still 40,000, 60,000 damage ahead of Skeppy, right? And it's those moments where you just kind of sit back and you think, man, what is it that this guy is doing? And that's the thing is, both, I think, Prosper and Skeppy actually in the intro for the Console League, you have shots of those 2 players, and I think it's really interesting to see the fact that these 2 have been talked about as the best damage players on console for a long time now. And now that they're both on the same team, it really is frightening for, I think, anyone that has to go against Flashpoint.
I agree, and that's going to be something exciting to watch as we move forward. In a weird way, it's probably an internal competition for them, like who can do the most damage in these games, which is scary for anyone who's playing against them. We'll look at the opposite side of this matchup, Stush. As we said, one of the only teams to take a map off of Flashpoint up to this point this season. And one of the guys that I pointed out, we talked actually about him on Esports Weekly last week.
Yeah.
LL is one of my kind of rising stars in this league. He picked up the Atlas really quickly. When he came out, he really thrives, I think, on this sort of hybrid, aggressive frontline role. And he's really making a name for himself, and he's really helping Stush kind of put their best foot forward. And
that's the thing that kind of catches my eye. When a frontline starts having this big of an impact, I mean, I'm thinking Diggy Dog on NIP, right? Like when they are able to come in and make that big of a sway in your game where all of a sudden it's just like, if you're not there, your team might lose. I think that's one that's very big, and I feel like we are watching someone who's kind of on the precipice of that. They did really, really well last week, and because of that, you see them finally winning their set. Granted, it goes to 5 games, but I don't even think that was one person on Stush. I think that was Stush, especially in Game 3, not being willing to ult enough.
Well, you're smart, Gore. Frog Isle, Splitstone are going to get banned out here. Jaguar Falls and Ascension Peak on the opposite side. We're going to start off the day with a little Serpent Beach action, though. And that's a map that Flashpoint, they've shown that they can play well. Honestly, Flashpoint have shown that they can play well on pretty much any map. Just kind of figuring things out on that one Splitstone Quarry game that we saw. For Flashpoint in this match, do you think it's just more of the same? We play our game and we'll come out on top for them? Do you think there's any maybe changes you need? Because Stush, I mean, we mentioned it, they are playing better. Are there any changes you think that they make to maybe get Flashpoint off balance?
I kind of want to see if Stush can push the envelope with the front lines. Like this is like the two areas you can hit. You can either try to go for the DPS, but between two excellent players, I just don't think two bans is going to be enough to control Prosper and Skeppy. Like no matter what, something's going to get through there. But you can try to make Legacy a little more uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
You can try to make World a little more uncomfortable and just shake them up a little bit. Like either pull a Con away, pull an Atlas away, try to play with the picks and bans in that area, because that's what we've seen be the most prominent, through the minor league, through the Premier League, is these front lines. Now when it comes to console though, Vivian, Victor, Talus always take that front seat, always take the bans. And the issue I have with that, and the only reason I think I want to see them maybe stray away from those for Stush specifically, especially if they're going to be second, is when you come into this, you have to recognize that if you give them, especially in first pick, they get one power pick.
Right.
If you let 3 through, you get 2 at the end of the day. And that's the thing is playing with the draft a little bit at the beginning can potentially win you a game and can just upset even some of the best teams, because all of a sudden, man, we got Atlas Talus and we're just going to roll you.
Right. I mean, that's because the sort of picks and bans of the console league have kind of been interesting to see sort of form over the past few weeks. And Talus, that's a really good point you bring up, because we've seen him really firmly in that ban column over the past few sets that we've seen over the past couple weeks as well. What is it about Talus maybe on the console that draws that much attention?
I'd say very similar to Victor and Vivian. Hit scan, usually going to be able to do close range, mid-range DPS really well. And his tracking is pretty easy, right? Overall. I just need to follow you while I shoot. I don't have to reset. It's not going to have any pacing between it. And then there's the thing that this one's just Talus specific. Whenever you go for your overcharge and you're all of a sudden firing twice as fast, you just kill people twice as fast.
You just shred people really quickly.
I actually really like him. This is one, Cassie has been in my mind as a very big counter to Ruckus. I think Talus fits in there as well. He needs Wrecker a little more than I think Cassie does. Big game usually kind of supplements her damage, but once he has a Wrecker and an overcharge, Ruckus literally doesn't exist to him. He does not care that he has thousands of health. He just melts it. And when it comes down to it, that's actually right here a very awkward matchup, because when you have that ban and you have that pick potential, Flashpoint will 100% first pick that every step of the way, because Prosper and Skeppy both play it at a level that will ruin your day.
That's
maybe.
Sort of the point that you brought up, is that having Prosper and Skeppy on the same team, it's hard to kind of form the bands that you want to look at, because a lot of other teams, it's sort of, all right, they have this one main DPS guy, this is his favorite champion to play. Either we pick it away just to get out of his hands, or we ban it off the table. Having 2 people who can play most of the DPS champions in the game, if not all of them, at an incredibly high level, I mean, that makes things really hard on your team. At that point, it's all right, you ban 2 and then you pick a couple away. You're investing so much to make a guy like Prosper Logic uncomfortable. And I think this is kind of the analysis that you were bringing, is it gets to a point where it's almost not worth investing so much, because you're just not going to make him uncomfortable. So maybe you, and Legacy, again, we keep talking about Prosper and Skeppy, but Legacy as a frontliner has been really, really effective over the past couple of weeks. A name that, although Prosper's always in the kill feed and Skeppy's always in the kill feed now, Legacy opens a lot of those doors for them.
I'd be willing to throw this one out there for Flashpoint, because I think this is a very accurate description. But if I had to equate them, they are the NIP of the console league right now. They are the team that is just you have 2 front lines that can play pretty much whatever. World is still working, I think, a little more on the flexibility to kind of match where Legacy is. And I feel like we always see all of Flashpoint go to the same maybe 5 picks, but admittedly it's because, you're not going to not pick Victor or Vivian or Talus if they're available. You're always going to go for them because they're a high priority pick. But you have these guys that are willing to absolutely let you have something and then be cool, we're going to play this, and only us can really play that right now, and it's going to counter you somehow. And because they can do that, that's what has made them more difficult, not only when you're looking at just this region, but then when you look at, having crosslands when they come through, and if they have to go against the EU Xbox or the NA PS4, NA Xbox, all of a sudden they just look really good because of it. I think, when we go back to HRX, they don't do quite as well. I think they were not in the same mindset they are now. I think they've locked down this split specifically, and I think looking at them going forward throughout this year, they are probably the team to beat, and definitely one of the ones that you have to keep your eye on. And if you're a team that's like, how do we become #1? Emulate Flashpoint as best as you can.
Just find yourself a Skeppy and a Prosper Logic. For those still
casually
watching here, we're having a little bit of a technical issue on the back end, so we're getting all that resolved, and then we'll jump into set #1 here in just a moment as we work through that. Let's look at the opposite side, though. Stush, though. Stush. Elo, we chatted about him. We saw his sort of frontline prowess and what he's... I mean, they found their first win last week, and a lot of it was behind some of that aggressive frontline play. Topson, though, on the support role, I think he's sort of another underappreciated role, I think, and having a really good healer at your back, especially Topson in this case, I mean, that really opens a lot of doors for you, and I think as much as Elo and Chico and Nico Noob and the rest of them were sort of behind that resurgence, Topson, I think, really shone as well.
And that's actually one of the things I think is very important to keep your eyes open for. In a matchup like this, Stush last week to me did not scream, our DPS are just going to outdamage you and we're going to kill you all, like, outright. It was, our frontline and support combo is going to control the objectives so much that you have to play our game. That's how it felt last week, and that's why it was a little odd when they did go into that scenario where it's just like, they're not using their ults, they're not really fighting the way they had the first 2 maps. And so maps 3 and 4 last week when they were going up against Aaron Manor was, or not Aaron Manor, Aaron Manor was just sloppy to me. And I think as long as they watch those, they clean that up, they lock it down a little more, and maybe they grab themselves the comfort picks that led them to that success, I think they're in a good spot.
I mean, they do that. They get the Atlas, Leon as well. Flashpoint, not necessarily surprising anyone. They obviously prioritize the Victor, and I don't really mind that. I mean, in a lot of drafts, people would... I mean, this is sort of the console meta that we've seen is Victor, Vivian, and Tyra sort of take some of those higher priority things, even above a Khan in this case. But in Flashpoint's side, they've sort of seen, if we get Prosper or Skeppy on this Victor, I mean, that's about as comfort pick, that's about as high tier as we can get. They've shown that they can carry an entire game on one of those picks, so I don't mind the Victor coming out first here. And
it's exactly what you say. I love because you don't really know, is that going to be like, out of a Victor and a Mani, I don't know who's playing what, because both of them more than likely can play it at a high level. I wouldn't doubt that it's Prosper on Victor and maybe Skeppy on the Amani, but again, either one could come through, and that's the thing I'm excited for. We saw Stush play Atlas last week. We know their Atlas is really good. I want to see Flashpoint with Atlas. I want to see Flashpoint with Amani because I want to know where those fit for them, because I think, like, again, when you look at some of the best teams in the world and you see the nutty things they've been able to accomplish so far, I want to see how that translates to a team like Flashpoint.
Now, I'm excited to see this. The Ying comes through. We've seen her kind of poke into the PL a little bit. She started to kind of make her resurgence there. How do you feel about the Ying here in this case? What do you feel about her sort of as a healer?
I'm going to quote...
Kinessa as well.
Kresnik here.
Yeah.
Ying is Damba 2.0, right? Like, it's going to be like just being able to pick up, have the same performance, same overall kind of healing, and pretty much same healing numbers in a different format. You're not going to have the Dread Serpent, you're not going to have the stuns, but you can kind of deal with that. So I really like her as a Genos is banned, while Damba is picked. We need to go Ying. Saris, I am not a huge fan of. Sometimes she works, but it's not always the best.
Well, we're about to jump into game number 1 here. Last time these two teams met, Stush was actually able to take a map off of Flashpoint, which isn't something that always happens. We're about to jump into Serpent Beach, which means we have to send it down to your casters.
Thanks, guys. Well, rain day pretty air for the first set of the day, and we are excited to get into it. We're going to see some Atlas as well, and some Amani. Skeppy this time taking his hand at the Dragon Queen, so to speak.
Very cool stuff still. Fairly, pretty much the standard talent selections here. Deja Vu for Alilal right now. Eminence Mother's Grace. Eagle Eye, I'd say that's a little bit different. I'd say Steady Aim is sort of taken over, so cool to see a little Eagle Eye poke its head back out. Prosper still on the Victor, still first pickable. Is it worthwhile? Big root coming out would make it so.
He's had a lot of success, and he's been famous for kind of going into these damage numbers at a high rate, and even doing it when people expect him to have needed more time to play to really be competing at the top of the charts, but he has been doing such efficient work so far. But a real standoff here to start it off.
Yeah, keeps peeking the right side of this pillar where Kiness has a line of sight. I feel like if he just peeked the left side, she probably would. Another Frostbomb will go out. That's a long cooldown. 20 seconds. We're upwards of 1:30 now. No first blood. Flashpoint is starting to get corralled a little bit, falling lower and lower in HP.
It's good healing, though, and unfortunately the pressure from Atlas is just overwhelming, and they really do force him out of that cubby, which is so popular in Paladins on Serpent Beach. 36% for Stush Gaming. Now they seem to have found it a little bit of success, and no one has been able to get close to this Knessa thus far.
No flank pressure. That's something that console runs into oftentimes, is they don't draft anything like the Zins, none of the EVs, none of that type of stuff. It's double back line or bust. Headhunter is going to be the first ultimate charge here for Knessa. Nico Noob, what can he do?
And that wall is definitely helping out. Not the Unstable Fissure, but it's good enough as it does allow, excuse me, it is Unstable Fissure, not the Temporal Divide, which you see taking the entire map and putting it into his control. Really nice Deja Vu setback, but meanwhile, Flashpoint just stay on the point. Most of the action happens on the rafters, but
yeah,
the objective goes away of FP.
There's almost a point where Stush Gaming was able to fully take over the high ground of Flashpoint's side of the map, and that's where things become a problem for the Flashpoint point tank. But Barrick stayed strong there, stayed dedicated to the cause, if you will, was able to kind of keep going there through that whole fight, keep it relatively even as well. When Flashpoint really started to lose that fight, it was still tied up around 30 to 30%, and now we can see what they do on the offense.
And this is looking very, very bad because the snowball here, there's been no stabilization since the win, and that's what really helps to differentiate some of these teams, is the ability to kind of say, okay, we lost, now let's just cut our losses so we can hold strong here in the big game. But it is slowly but surely run by, and BYC Chico, the only one here on the top, able to try and defend while he waits for his teammates to get back.
30 on the clock to get this one through. Ultimates are ready. You can hear some of them starting to be let loose. Barrage is going to come down, and it's going to hit the stasis field there. Picked off as he tries to get inside. Nico Noob with a very aggressive push. BYC head of the back line as well. And an interesting spot here. High risk, high reward as he picks up another kill.
Impressive that he even got out of that. He definitely needed somebody to support him there, and he got a little bit of healing. Take a look at his loadout if we can as well to see if he has any of that imminent self-healing as well. If you can see that, and he does. And remember, that doesn't have to be a hit, so might have gotten that little chunk to kind of bridge the gap before he can get back to his healer.
Now the boys are starting to take back control of the high ground, and while Skeppy is going to be able to get up there, kind of a tough 1v1 unless you have all your cooldowns available to you. Imani does decent. She's got decent HP, decent survivability cards, and most of the time those are all run. But if Leon gets to jump on you with that burst, good double karate chopper, that's always an option. There it is. Nice frost bomb kill from Skeppy.
And no movement to be done in that one. Skeppy holding it down from range. Frostfire glide over on the right side, but Knessa now has him in his sights, and a beautiful shot there. Nico Noob must have hit the headshot, but Prosper Logic cleans him up, and maybe that was the distraction they all needed. The wall goes up from rain, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough at this point.
Definitely. Nice cycling of the cooldowns here. Red Serpent comes through. Not sure if that hits anyone in the backline. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't, but Illusory Rift is going to patch everyone up. Look at Flashpoint's HP bar is still relatively full.
And if he has the shield here, look at that. The Illusory Rift just hooking him up, but Atlas has his own second chance as well. Unfortunately, he's going to need a third or a fourth to stop this, and he won't get any of them. It's a 2-0 already for Flashpoint.
A couple of the backliners for Stush Gaming definitely competing, I would say, with Skeppy and Prosper Logic. Prosper starting to kind of catch fire there, but he struggled at the start a little bit. We're starting to see that placement of the first pick Victor start to pay off. The extra 1 second root duration paying off there as well. World able to grab both of those kills and open up a lot of room for his team to push through.
Really nice stuff here from the damage side. 13,000 damage ahead. Yet again, only 5 minutes played. This is what we're talking about here. So efficient with how he's finding pressure, and the real key is how is this pressure going to change with that dragon available. He does have the Dragon's Call here heading into this round, and Nico Noob did not have to play, but he's got the Bulldozer now, and so does Chico.
Starting to see the value and the depth of this Flashpoint roster. Both of the front lines just heavily outscoring, out-fragging the Stush Gaming front line. So it's not only a backline threat here between Skeppy and Prosper Logic, Storm Avatar, and the boys on the front line. Definitely hold it down very, very effectively as well.
And here you go. Dragon clearly set up. They've got everyone on the right side. No one can really push. And this is really where this lineup starts to fall apart. They have to get it with Bulldozer. Using the cover nicely is Skeppy there. He can't quite get the maneuverability to finish off Rain, but he goes down as a result of that impact. And World Edit doing a great job of making things happen himself.
Good little World in the back line here. 11 streak now building. in the zone for the Barrack. Looking like it's going to be pretty good here. 78-0 and climbing. No flanks picked on console. That's something we kind of talked about earlier on in this match. And that's allowing, I think, Skeppy to get a bit more aggressive with his Dragon positioning and maybe get some more value.
What's interesting is that, you know, there is a very high prioritization. Because you're right, that these flanks aren't picked, but there are a few that are so highly prioritized, they're just often banned. I mean, Talus comes to mind in that space where, I think given the opportunity, Koga as well at times, and I'm curious to see if he makes it through today, they're just very threatening. And when you don't have those two, they don't go into the coffers, so to speak, to find those other flanks. It's really a couple that get the shine, and if not, then nobody does, and they stick to these lineups. So, Imani going to be a big issue if they continue to play at range.
Legacy kind of trying to take the high ground over by himself. Skeppy needs to get in there, and I think if that came out as a coordinated strike where Skeppy was attacking from the balcony as Legacy pushed up the stairs, there might have been some room for success there, but other than that, it's just Nico Noob holding down this back corner behind the carbine for the big shot here on the Victor. He's going to have to hustle his way out of here. But that's his best 1v1 to take.
Yeah, probably not. And he doesn't have a second chance, so he bets it all. Nothing happens. Really good stuff from Legacy. Does he have the battle shout?
Wow.
Yeah, he doesn't need it. He gets the damage anyways. There's a seismic crash. Goodness. Prosper Logic finally goes down, and there's the battle shout we were thinking about. Is Legacy really going to walk out of this? My goodness. It looks like it's possible. Gets closer again to Storm Avatar. And here's the illusory rift. My.
In all my days, I have never seen such a team fight take place in that corner the way that was. That was pretty funny. All these guys just going in. Leave poor Prosper alone. My goodness gracious, the thirst today.
Yeah, this is looking like a very hard problem to solve. Using the glide of Imani very nicely. Gets exiled, but interesting, you will still maintain your gravity apparently as you are being exiled. Which is something that's weird because I've seen a lot of people feel like they're stuck in the air. But apparently in that situation, she falls to the ground. She'll be fine in a few seconds. Here's the Dragon, though, trying to finish this one off as Flashpoint.
I think Atlas needs to make that rotation down and put some pressure on a Skeppy, take him out. That's really the only hope for them, but there's a couple people body blocking, playing defense for the Dragon itself as Flashpoint continue to dominate and go up 4-0.
Yeah, great stuff from them. Really excited to see them continue to rise in the ranks and incorporate these new champions. We've seen so much around these other high-level teams in the PPL, but Console proving that they know exactly what to do when they get Imani on their side. We're going to send it back to the desk, keep this one quick and short as Game 1 goes away Flashpoint.
Thank you, Evan. Thank you, Nick. One thing I disagree with that Evan said is, as Flashpoint continue to rise in the ranks, because they literally cannot rise any further in the ranks.
They're at the top of the ladder, and they're reaching for another rung. Like, come on, please.
But we're really only halfway up. No, they're at the top of the ladder right now. Not dropping that one. 4-0 here for Flashpoint to start off the day. Gore, you had a pretty in-depth thought, I think. and, you know, we're kind of thinking, you know, that's a quick 4-0. Like, what's Flashpoint doing really well? What did you see out of them?
They are good at Paladins. As it turns out, they are just very good at playing the game. No, they have the flexibility. They get a lot of power picks for them. And again, this is where Stush is like the hard part is not can you get them on champions that they're uncomfortable on. The answer is no. They're always going to be comfortable. It's can you take down those champions when they are there? When Prosper is playing something like Victor and he's getting 88,000 damage, he's going 12-2. When World is going 9-0 on Barrack, it's not the champions they're playing as much as it is them who is playing it. You have to beat the players mechanically, and that was a game where Stush just didn't quite match it. I will say Nico Noob did pretty well for a Canessa in that matchup, though.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Chico as well. I mean, anytime you're able to bring out, I think, a KDA that's close to or kills and deaths, I mean, I guess with assists included, they technically have a positive KDA, but anytime you're able to hover around that 1-2 mark, especially in a big 4-0 losing matchup, you have to give some props to the players in those cases. Of course, Prosper Logic, 9.0 KDA, and then in, I believe that was like an 8-minute game, managed to farm himself up 88,000 damage. A cool 300 even gold per minute as well.
I like it when numbers come out that great.
Just a nice 9.0, nice easy 0 on the end. You know what? I have to ask you, this is sort of off topic for this. If you're changing the volume on your TV, do you leave it at like a 5 or a 0, or are you one of the people that can just jump somewhere in between?
It's always a 5 or a 0.
Right,
Fun fact, that translates to gym sets too. I can't so if I'm on the treadmill, it has to be a 5 or a 0. So if I'm bumping up the time that I'm going to be on, it's another 5-10 minutes.
You're
and
a man
if
of
I'm
culture.
if I'm going to do another set, I'm like it's got to be a multiple of 5. Like if I just did 30, the next one's going to be 25 or 20. Like it has to be in that increment.
So you're a normal, you're a good human being.
But I'm like obsessive over it because sometimes I'll be like, I'll do 10 and I'll be like, ooh, I should stop. And then I'll do 11. I'll be like, well, now I have to keep going.
Gotta go
like
4
I
more.
have to go 4 more. And then either arms, legs, wherever will just not be happy with.
Well,
me
I'm glad that we at least agree on that matter, because that's a pretty contentious thing apparently is people who are able to, just leave the TV on 27 volume. Like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, that's so...
27 is such a weird number.
It's just 25, 24 and 25, just like SpongeBob. Genos coming out first, though. We've seen Genos come through, pretty high priority pick here. Vivian, Victor, and Tyra, all 3 banned out in this matchup. So, I mean, if you're going to try to make Prosper or Skeppy a little uncomfortable, I guess just getting rid of those champions entirely is one way to do it. But we talked about this. You can't really make him all that uncomfortable. That's not easy to do. That, of course, leaves Talus and Leon open. I mean, they've shown the propensity, the desire. We'll draft damage first, because if we get these guys the high priority damage dealers, it's going to be hard for you regardless of the rest of our lineup.
Again, it comes down to Victor right now is probably top tier pick on console just in general. Anybody who grabs him should look good on him, and if you don't, that's saying something I think more about you than the champion, right? He's looked good in 90%, if not more, of his matches. Vivian, same kind of standard. Tyra, I would put maybe more on the fence than those two, but she fits the same role. Talus fits in that same role, and Skeppy and Prosper are both really good at it. Again, either one could be running. I actually expect to see Skeppy on it here probably, but it's just a dangerous game to be playing with. You get the Barrack, you get the Atlas, so I feel like those can deal with him a little better.
Right.
Maybe a nice rewind, maybe a nice teleport, but I just don't know how they're going to shut him down yet.
And I like the Khan pick as well. Legacy had a really good game on Khan last game. Again, when we talked about a pregame, we always say Prosper, we always say Skeppy, because they're the ones that show up in the kill feed. Drogos and Bomb King, though, from Stush here.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on those two?
We don't often see Double Blaster.
No.
And I actually think Double Blaster in this scenario on this map can work for them. And I can actually play very heavily into their favor on Stush. But you've got to be very careful. Leon is going to be looking to take Drogos out of the sky. Talus can do it just as equally, but if Talus goes for the Bomb King, Leon takes out the Drogos, I think both of those blasters get locked down kind of perpetually.
It's going to be something exciting to see. We see a Bomb King, maybe we see a Drogos on either team on Stone Keep, but rarely, much less in the Console League, we see them on the same team. We're going to head down to game number 2 on Stone Keep and send it to the casters.
Stone Keep, a beautiful place to start your set. Well, they'll have to take game 2 this way. Maybe looking at it from Stush's side, trying to start the wins for this set, because Flashpoint took that one from their hands quite quickly in game 1. This time they will have a different lineup, and the Talus will be featured by Skeppy.
Yeah, we'll have to see what that is able to pull. This is one of your more standard bans for console, so the fact that it does make it through, and under one of the better hit scan players to ever grace the sticks, young Skeppy trying to do his thing against this double blaster comp, which, like the desk boys mentioned, is not a very common thing to see on any platform, region, doesn't matter. This is not something you really expect.
Nice little flank here, and he's got such a good spot for a Rune of Travel because he can cause so much trouble here. Just patiently waits. They smell it out, but he's going to get a lot of damage. He gets the rewind, but unfortunately he's just going to use his own travel to get back there, and 57% for Flashpoint and the first blood.
Yeah, having the Inara, definitely a big point presence they're going to have to deal with. When you look at against this healing of the Genos, the throughput is just not going to be there. So these boys really need to look to win this fight quickly with this double blaster. 1,035 across the way. Skeppy never saw it coming.
That is definitely a really big strength, but they are relying on that happening again and again and again. Bomb King, such a good closer, and in many ways so good at battling down those huge health pools, but sometimes just a shot off definitely doesn't have that kind of miss ability that maybe a Talus might. As long as he gets in the right position, he should be able to clean it up. Legacy just getting sent back, and now overtime for Flashpoint. They can back off if they want here.
It's going to be a problem. Barrack has to get on there and contest, and he's already half HP. He goes down to Prosper Logic. Flashpoint doing a good job staying focused on the objective. Little 1v1 going on here in the back line.
Wow.
Bouncing and bobbing over the head of Leon. Drogos comes out on top.
Are you kidding me? Chico gonna take the double kill by himself. Beautiful stuff there. Even though Stush do not get the point, that was a nice little individual play there by the Dragon. Still alive. Stush stalling somewhat of that payload push.
Skeppy does a good job finding the trade. 2 in the back line. Stush Gaming as well. Both the backliners kind of popping off a little bit. I'm interested to see how this fight evolves with ultimates. There's a lot of initiation for Stush Gaming. Things like the Dragon Punch and the King Bomb are going to provide a lot of utility, tools, zoning, all that good stuff. Things that they lacked in that initial point fight.
Oh, and there it is. Beautiful setup for both players. And Taub, he gets the better end of that one through time and space. But Legacy taking down Nico Noob, and Prosper Logic returning the favor. If he gets this one, that's huge. Now they just have the support, and that through time and space is gone. This is rough. Only the Barracks staring them down on the objective.
I like that. The baton pass from Prosper to Skeppy gets the kill onto the support. Well played. The boys of Flashpoint know what they're doing with this composition. They have that flank pressure. They have the ability to get onto these double back lines. But the Blasters not playing too aggressively if they can help it. That was a King Bomb I saw winding up. Something's got to happen here for Stush Gaming.
And it just felt like they did not want to commit their ults to defend. An earlier Dome Shield maybe, but World Edit, give him credit. He's the one who actually put in a few shots from the Stone Spear, really forced some cooldowns, forced that first rocket boots, and sometimes those little bits of damage from other sources outside of your DPS can make a huge difference in putting somebody under pressure, and that's what Flashpoint does. Easy 2-0 for them to start.
003 for World Edit on the Inara, looking at a nice little 5-1, 4-1 for the tag team DPS duo of Skeppy and Prosper through the first round. Well done to them for sure. And Nico Noob, Chico trying to keep up in this instance, but definitely have the harder matchups running into the double hit scan. These Blasters going to be better at pressuring out the frontliners, scaling with Wrecker, things like that. They just haven't had an opportunity to get their feet under them. They're very, very behind in terms of items as well. Not able to get any level 2s online for Cops or Chronoses or Wreckers. None of them.
Just so surprised Grumpy Bomb doesn't go down there to start out, but really saving it to, I guess, keep this position. He fought from here the entirety of last round, but again, that position is very tough for him to land these bombs. He's going to get the trade. That matters at least on the front line, but now he is down, and that's a lot of damage that Stush were counting on.
Big second chance there from Atlas. Covers a lot of ground. Stasis Field goes out as well. Skeppy Runa travels back to his own safety up the stairs. Keep True Power across the map. Wants the Bomb King. And he's going to get it.
Worth. And he might even get this. Oh, he will.
No.
8 health to the man's name and a battle shout from Legacy. Beautiful teamwork and great finesse there from Paladins.
Definitely. We're starting to see some of the power of this pitch.
Little luck.
Yeah, a little bit of luck. Little 8 HP, 7 more than he needs. 89% on the objective for Stush Gaming with the comeback mechanic. Still have some ults to work with as well. Certainly the King Bomb could be an asset to them. Maybe a little Exile, Dome Shields, a lot of things to work with if they can get back in time.
Trying to figure out what's going on, and I think they just smell out that Skeppy's in the back line, but they have to be really focused about this objective. And Skeppy gets Taub after that. They look to find Skeppy, but it ends up kind of working against them as their healer goes down. You can have as many second chances as you want, Atlas, but against this pressure without a healer, it's going to be tough. The Dome Shield trying to buy time, but it looks like both of them are going down to Prosper.
Rune travels, things like that. Prosper just teeing off. It's going to be on the Flashpoint objective captured as they look to close out game number 2 here. Not a whole lot used, and the King Bomb not getting any value there. Really running into the back of Inara while CC immune. You can see the damage barely even showed up on her health bar. She did not get stunned. Did not pass go, did not collect $200 for that ult.
And really good play for Prosper in general. It's continual from this team, from him. Let's take a look at the damage charts as well, because it's only 6 minutes in, 63,000 damage, 20K ahead of the other highest player, and this is why we talk about him kind of soaring into the charts in a very unexpected way. So little time played, so much effective damage in that time. Nice little second chance here from Atlas, but his payload's not stopping.
These are good matchups for him as well, as long as he takes his time, which he's done a good job of. 3-1 with the Barrack. Not easy, but doable with that amount of burst damage. None of that damage is changing, just cooldown, scaling cards, all that good stuff. Another opportunity here off the back of Skeppy teeing it up. I love this duo.
And he's focused on the Barrack, but then he changes his target so well because, you know, sometimes you just want to finish that guy off in front of you, but he says, you know what, it is more important to try to help get this support. It all turns into him being able to do stuff like this. He does miss the shot, went for the highlight reel.
Bold.
But at least he survives a little longer. Now Chico's in trouble.
Bold, brother. Definitely.
Dragon Punch.
Could have been cool there. 1 minute on the clock. Prosper respawns. No ultimate this time around. Setback. Going to put Legacy back into harm's way. Doesn't really have any cooldowns to work with either. So that's going to be good for the kill. 1,027. A little Luminary Atlas action for the boys. Pokes out Leon in a big way and forces everyone back. Only 3 surviving members of Flashpoint.
Cool skin. Oh, I think Rocket's the new. One of the new, or maybe that's a recolor. Because I know his new skin.
He definitely did get a badass skin.
But he's got 2, right? Because he had the Legionnaire.
And I think he's got his recolor and that one
yeah.
that you're talking about.
Oh, man. The man looks good, that's for sure. At least, even though he's out of time, he's still in fashion. Flashpoint here, 20 seconds left, and it looks like they will be able to push this one. Already finding
15 seconds remaining.
There it is.
This front line.
10,
Legacy pushing
9,
forward now.
8,
Doesn't have an ultimate, doesn't have anything to work with for the time being.
5,
Battle Shout expended just to get him around this corner. Open up some space for Skeppy, and this is all what it's about. It's the assists, it's the alley-oop to somebody else, whether it's a backliner to a frontliner, or a backliner to another backliner. Flashpoint are working well together.
Skeppy's done a lot of good job with his talents. You see the benefit of it. It's not just the shred and the easy kind of narrative of how this works on console, unlike some of these more difficult projectile champions with the sticks. But what's great about it is just the flexibility on a map like this. They lose an arm. That's actually going to result in a defense here. So Stush, I think they get their first point on the board in the set. Solid stuff there. And yeah, wasn't able to keep the Inara alive. World gets his first death of the game, 9 minutes in.
There was just a big moment of downtime there for both Skeppy and for Prosper. There were, after that Atlas dies, lengthy rotation. Prosper was looking like he was poked out as well, and nobody was able to get pressure. World was all on his own on an island there. That was a potential conversion, but you could see Bomb King from the high ground and Drogos flying up just behind the overpass was turned around and just letting Inara have it. Have a piece of his mind.
4,
Have a piece
3,
of his
2,
mind, indeed.
1.
So we go to another objective when we did feel like the game might have been ending here. Unusual for Flashpoint to let something like that with a lot of momentum. Real no reason for that to have worked as a defense to go down. But look at this. 1 kill turns into another one. And a little confidence starts to build for Stush as Chico starts to pop off yet again.
There it is. Dragon Punch into a nice little combination blow. Skeppy
Good play.
Flanking out on his own. Finds the support as well. 3 for Chico in this fight. They look to maybe stagger out this con. Comeback mechanics already put them in a really good spot for the capture.
Yeah, I think it's over already. I mean, this is what they should have done last time. Full commit and Grumpy Bomb, King Bomb, Grumpy Bomb to spacing, King Bomb under the point. Skeppy, Prosper, they turn it around here, but 97%, they can't get on the objective. Inara, she's too slow. And it's going to be Stush who have an opportunity to push, though we know how these go. They may not push very far.
Just me, or was that the loudest dome shield turret ever? Sounded like a
They
back.
buff the flame damage and the sound.
God help us.
God help us.
Every little aspect of Barrack seeing some type of adjustment. Power shift away from cards to the actual ability kit itself. 2 minutes to get this one through. 30 seconds already burned away. Flash run on the defense, so not the most momentous start to the push here. Overpower comes through as well. Looks like it snagged Atlas. He's going to hold him up. Sacrificial lamb. You could just go ahead and do that.
No, because the second chance, he knew it. And if anything, you really need to worry about pulling Atlas until you see the second chance go. Or, I mean, you just know that your teammates can follow up. I think he thought the latter, where his teammates might be able to finish it off, but it was Chico who was ready in position. Couple of mistakes here from Flashpoint. Not stabilizing the way we would have expected. And now, finally, they get rid of the dragon here. Skeppy doing God's work.
Out of combat healing comes through. He looks to make his next attack. 5 seconds on the Rune of Travel, but doesn't need that attempt. And now left. And this looks like it could be stabilization, but that's okay. Every time you capture a payload, you got to go home and solidify those credits. And credits are where the boys of Stush Gaming were hurting early on. Their item economy definitely not matching up enough with Flashpoint. Now they're starting to die and spend some of that money. You can see things are equalizing.
I do like the way that they are going about resetting, though. Definitely a lot of patience from them. They kind of back off knowing Chico goes down, and they actually get a nice little trade here and there. Although they do believe that Nico could have taken that one against the Inara. It doesn't go their way, but it was very close to being able to kind of turn a defensive position into a counterattack. Legacy hiding around that corner, just the unstable Fissure to kind of block these autos. Skeppy actually goes down to the barrack, and that's a big pickup.
Definitely is. Doesn't look like Legacy's long for this world. Look at the flank coming out from Chico, trying to get an angle that nobody can defend from. Floating out here confidently, has his Dragon Punch to get back up and over this railing if anybody manages to squeak out of the frontliner. Slowing them down. Big fear. I love it.
And that was huge. Huge play. The only way you really could have dealt with them there, especially with the Dragon Punch. They didn't quite know, but they assumed. And overtime still ticking away. Storm Avatar's got to focus on healing the Inara, but even Prosper needs some healing as well. This should set it off and turn it into a defense. Great decision from Storm.
Yeah, definitely a big call there, and something that's not done a ton of, but when it is really thought of, it's one of those just like, oh wow, this is actually super effective if we just do this.
Yeah.
A couple of games on Frog Isle that I kind of remember having seen random noobs Drogos getting plucked out of the sky by these spheres. It's fairly easy to hit on a flying Drogos. It's a large sort of AoE utility fear that you can blow up at a moment's notice. You just hit the key again or the button again, whatever it is. Y, I think, on most of the controllers, or triangle here in PS4. Pop that one, get the Drogos out of the sky. And not a lot of Drogos feel the need to run resilience because that's not really meant for them in a lot of cases.
Absolutely.
2.
And he's going to pick it up as we speak, though, Nick. He does not want that to happen. Top grabs his own as well. And so Rain also getting in on the resilience party. Dragon Punch not quite used yet, but this is probably a good time to use it. He feels like he can get the job done, but you better do it, and he does it. Top finds a kill, but Skeppy gets Chico, and that is just a big trade in favor of Flashpoint, I think.
Exile still ready to go if they feel the need for it. Look at the Wrecker scaling. Oh, this Bomb King is two-tapping the construct.
Oh, nice.
Set back into harm's way. Legacy won't make it out of this one alive. Comeback mechanic again. Stush Gaming are ripping forward on this capture, 72% to nothing.
Oh, and this is a beautiful Exile Ale. We forget about him and his impact. Could have canceled there, but tries to just get the quick peek his way, and now the Dragon Punch comes forward. He's able to make an impact. Maybe not much towards the beginning of the fight, but towards the end, certainly Chico has been giving some deadly burst damage onto the battlefield.
Legacy can't hold on for much longer here. This double blaster with the Luminary pressure has been too much. Prosper Logic's Enlightenment runs into the stones on the keep. Won't find the value for it. Nice little setup here. One more auto aim would do it, but he finds a shot.
Yeah. And now I think it's going to be Flashpoint with an opportunity. They do find a couple of kills, but 99%. So that objective now operating as the 6th man. Stush Gaming know that they have to stand somebody on that one, and they're waiting. I love it. Patience from this team. It is also potentially going to be game point if they do not capture. So there is a little bit of pressure on this one.
There it is. Nico Noob takes down Prosper. So an early 4v5 and man advantage here. Skeppy under some threat as well. He really travels back to safety for the time being. Another opener would have been a good idea, but he's only at half HP.
And that's a big thing. Deja Vu is going to reset Legacy as well. There's so many good moments coming from Ale. And I mean, this is the difference in my opinion. Beautiful stuff to kind of bait them out and to grab that overtime, take it away, then trade with the Barrack with the second chance, back onto the high ground, takes down Skeppy. Beautiful management of that fight. Stush now with a chance to win.
Proper use of the ultimates from Stush Gaming have really turned things around for them. Big value for these Dragon Punches, for King Bomb, Dome Shield. Even Exile hitting a little bit through time and space, getting kills. I mean, all this stuff is kind of on point for them. Flashpoint, Enlightenment kind of hits the wall there. The true powers have been good, honestly, more than I expected. I don't really expect much from that ult, to be honest, though. A lot of times that just goes for solo kills, but I think Flashpoint has done a good job using it as almost like a setup to tee off with for these presences.
It's a nice combo you don't really think of, but Imminence is very deadly, and Beyond in general, very fast fire rate, very efficient at killing anyone who's just standing still. That is for sure. So a nice utility, and then also just a really nice execution on the side of Stush. A minute and 30 now, you have to kind of wonder, have things started to slip out of Flashpoint's hands? Stush are looking much more confident in this matchup than they did to start.
Fires pick next. Skeppy just gets right on out of there. Doesn't want anything to do with it. I don't know why, but Don't Keep always feels like That can either be a map where Flashpoint give Victor Torvald and steamroll you, or somebody gets a pretty decent draft and takes them the distance. Stone Keep is a pretty decent map for some of these PS4 teams over in the EU region. There's only 1 minute remains now in this round. Flashpoint doing a good job burning some time so far. You can see some pretty spread pressure here. We've got, I don't know who that is, maybe Prosper Logic deep in the backline. Chico flies off the map yet again to look for some awkward angles, but Prosper's got kind of cheeky angles of his own right now.
Yeah, he's had some incredible pressure, and really Legacy has to thank Prosper for his life, because there's many moments where Chico has the perfect line of sight into the Con, and with Luminary, there's just not enough defense that Con provides to be able to survive an onslaught of rockets, and it's a consistent pressure. But it's really those imminent strikes, and it's Skeppy with a little bit of that finishing power that's warded him off for now, but it looks like he might have found the angle. Look at that, 2 rockets, and he's got to retreat.
Those are really good rockets. Dragon Punch is ready to go as well. Open avenue to the support. Just going to continue to lay down the fire onto the front line. Prosper staying in the back line of Stush Gaming, making sure that they are never without pressure. They don't have anywhere safe to retreat.
Yeah, and I mean, these are great angles. I mean, you really are isolating the team, and you're isolating Chico into these spots that are not as favorable. You're keeping his mind on defense while he's trying to play offense. You see, he takes a little peek and says, is Prosper still there? And what results is Flashpoint just find themselves defense. So 3-3, and it's all going to be up to this one.
21-7, 19-7 here for the back line of Flashpoint. Playing against these big, bad control AoE blaster ultimates has been more difficult than the front line had to deal with in game number 1. Locking down Chico's definitely going to be a good avenue to success. Maybe play this one a little bit safer. Flashpoint been pretty gung-ho coming into these point fights. And played relatively right into the hands of Stush Gaming. Every ultimate available for both sides as we head to the 3-3 fight.
Well, I think Chico, at this point, because Chico's hit the gas pedal a little bit, I think he may try to do that again. And I think that's what's worked for Stush. So, in my opinion, you got to keep going for it. It is up to Flashpoint to adjust. I would expect some more aggressive starts or attempts here. Get that Luminary, get a couple rockets, go into a Dragon Punch if you can. Look at this, slow playing indeed. There it is, Overpower starts it off. Skeppy finds Tob, and somehow Legacy makes it out. Oh no, it hits the shield. This is so close. Dread Serpent as well. Legacy is still alive, but finally goes down, and Chico at the end of it. Oh, nice little rocket jump there as well. Avoid staying down in the mayhem.
That was a really close call there. Everyone's a little battered and bruised after that one. True Power is still available. Drogo's still flying up in the sky. King Bomb, Exile, Time, and everything's still available. That's the problem. Stush Gaming didn't get an early use of any of their ultimates. Flashpoint definitely set the pace and the precedent for this fight.
I mean, you're right. There's literally only the True Power, but one isolated kill here could be extremely important. I don't see how Chico makes it out with his life in this one. And he gets juked out by Skeppy. Nice stuff there with the Rune of Travel. Beautiful stuff from him. And a Blitz Upper as well to seal the deal. Skeppy looking good. Rain picks him up, but is it too late?
99-27 means it might just be. Dome Shield was expended. King Bomb is available, but both the blasters taken out so early. I don't know if they'll have a chance to get back in. The Poppy into the King Bomb. It's not enough. You can see it futilely rolling around in the back line, unable to get it off. And that's sort of what we were talking about. When you let another team kind of set the precedent or set the pace of that fight, you may not ever have a good opportunity to use your ultimate, and there is no second or third chance.
Yeah, that's the problem. You gotta use them or you lose them. Unfortunately, Stush lost this one as well. 2-0 for Flashpoint. Game and set point coming up next round.
It is a 2-0 now for Flashpoint, but given how these teams have performed on Stone Keep in the past, Gore, I think a 4-3 and how good Stush looked in that one is a little surprising.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we just went 20 minutes, a 4-3, like you said. Stush have never won a Stone Keep map, but a lot of those in the past you would look at maybe, well, last week you see them go down 4-3, I think, again, but this time around, they're looking a lot better doing it. And of course, the two champions that make such a huge difference throughout all of it. There's 21-8-13, but Skeppy decides to just, I want to say maybe 2 up, 3 up, 4 up overall, Prosper, and just go 25-8-15.
That's a lot to deal with. That's pretty tough to break through if you're on the side of Stush. They looked really good doing it. I mean, I have to give some props, I think, on the opposite side to Stush. I mean, the slash lines weren't necessarily there to break up the KDAs that we saw on the side of Flashpoint, but they played really, really well, especially given that you give up the Talus, who's banned so often, and you give up the Leon, who's, I mean, one of the higher priority picks as well. and then you take them to 4-3, but 25-8, 21-8, beautiful plays out of Skeppy. That's just too much, I think, to break through in this case.
And a lot of it, like especially that last play, kind of showcases it, just because you look at this and it's like there's a Dragon Punch coming. Skeppy has the wherewithal to be like Rune of Travel, Blitz Upper, and then Jogos comes in and goes, wait, where'd it go? Where's my target at? And then shots, teleports back, gets the health, goes right back into the fight like it's nothing. Like, that is why you don't want them to have Talus.
That's why you don't want them to have Talus. Lots of fun things in Paladins, though, at the moment. Lots of great skins available in the store. And, of course, the most recent ones that have been added, the street-style skins. We've seen them a lot over the past few weeks. The update show, Gore did a good job of breaking them down. There's lots of beautiful skins, lots of things to look at. Let's jump to a quick video and see what's available.
Make room. The real star is here.
I've been perfecting this look for months now.
To me, fashion is more than a look. It's attitude and lots of punching.
How's my new jacket look? Let's get this show started.
As you can see there, 4 beautiful skins that are available now if you want to jump into the store and buy some of those. I think I already asked you, what's your favorite one out of that mix?
Ying and then Ashe.
Ying and then Ashe.
And then
does that make you
Sky and then Mage?
Did you buy Ying and now you're just a support main across the board?
Well, here's the fun thing. Well, actually, the fun thing about it, Ying is the one that you get from getting the other 3. So to get the Ying skin, I had to get all of them. Luckily, I like them all a lot, so it made it pretty easy for me.
Made it pretty easy. Well, you have a 4-0 in map number 1. Pretty contended 4-3 on Stone Keep. Now we jump to Timber Mill, Gore. What do you look at on this map?
Snipers. Yeah. Probably a lot of hit scan overall for Flashpoint. I think this is a dangerous area. I will say, I don't think Flashpoint, and well, based on the numbers I have in front of me, Flashpoint have not played this map, this split at all. So this is a map that they've gone to. I've seen them play it in the past, but they haven't had to do it in a little while. Whereas Stush, if you go back to last week, this was actually, I believe, Game 5 that they won.
That's true, yeah.
So this is probably them saying, you know what, we won one set there. Maybe this is where we can kind of reclaim at least one map on this.
And I mean, the way they played on Stone Keep, a traditionally very strong map for Flashpoint, and honestly, traditionally a bit of a weaker map for Stush, taking them to a 4-3 that they easily could have won. I mean, you got to be feeling a little more confident in this case. You'll feel okay going to Timber Mill, maybe throw some interesting champion picks out there as well. You said it, the Strix and the Atlas, first couple picks here. Leon, though, on the opposite side.
This is one of the things. So I can't remember how long ago it was, but Prosper posts the clip of him playing Canessa on Frog Isle, and I swear he gets like 4 or 5 kills. Like, it's just headshot after headshot after headshot.
Oh, in a row, not the entire game.
And I just remember thinking, like, why do you ban Frog Isle so much? Like, obviously you guys can play snipers, and you can play them really well. Like, is that going to be a big thing? I still don't know if I actually have the full answer to that. I think they just don't really want to play on Frog Isle because other teams are just as good at it. But the one thing that I have taken away from that and always sits in the back of my mind is that between the two of them, again, between Skeppy and Prosper, I know for a fact that Prosper can not only play snipers, but he can make them look incredibly good. And I think Stush might be in for a rude awakening.
And that's not something we've had the opportunity to see all that much, maybe here and there throughout the PCL season, but finally we get to see it again. The Eevee, though, comes out for Stush. That's pretty interesting. We've seen her a couple times, 7% pick rate here in the PS4 EU. How do you feel about the Eevee?
I think they did this last week, too. And I remember being excited for it last week. I just don't know if it's going to be able to do the same amount of work that it did last week. I think Strix, in this scenario, is going to be able to keep her under lock a little more, especially with a Victor, especially with an Atlas. Like, there's a lot of hit scan to keep this Eevee locked down, and when you're looking at the mobility on the controller, it's not going to be like, oh, I'm just going to wiggle my way out of this. Like, you are going to get shot out of the air a lot in that SOAR.
Well, the question of the hour, does Stush have a lineup that's going to get them win number 1 here, Gore? Well, I guess win number 2, but map number 1 in this set.
I can see it. I just don't think it's going to work against Flashpoint. Like, they have a lineup that can do it. I just don't know if they can do it.
That's true. Flashpoint are just playing so well. We're going to jump down to your casters to get Game 3 started.
Thanks, guys. Game 3 on the way. Flashpoint. Are they going to close it out, or will Stush make the comeback? Nick, I'm going to leave that one to you. What do you think?
Well, the Eevee is definitely a bold pick for Timber Mill. Wasn't impressed by the Eevee that I saw here last week, though, to be honest with you. I think if you can utilize this pick a little bit better, it can cause a lot of problems. And I think Chico is one, if he's the guy running it, that I have a little bit of faith in, just in the way that he was playing Drogos and staying above, moving around people, and making them confused. I think that's a good element to look at. He's a guy that I definitely have a little bit of faith in to pull it off this week.
All right, well, it's Timber Mill to round things out for the day, at least for Stush and for Flashpoint, it would seem. They have to keep their hopes alive. And as you mentioned, yeah, I guess Nico going to be on that Eevee. Chico going to be on...
I thought it would have been Chico.
The Eminence Leon. Both of them. And, you know, popping off in different ways.
The battle has
but Chico did play that Leon in the first game, so maybe just a little bit more familiarity with that one, set-wise.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what young Nico can do on an Eevee, a very rare pick for console. Did see a Timbermill game last week, though.
Very rare pick for console.
Soaring in, one shot.
That's
what I would have done.
Time for 2 shots.
Definitely would have done that. Like, you know what? Let's go. Let's race. Let's race. I need one more shot. You need. Oh, you've got a sidearm as well. All these things that Strix can bring out to the table. A very underrated champion, in my opinion. And I think it goes into the psychological factor that Strix just doesn't look very deadly. But he really, really is.
He's not intimidating enough.
He's not intimidating for how much damage he can actually do in the hands of a great, great player.
Waiting for that blink back. Ooh, close there on that long distance shot, but it's 99-0 on the objective here. Strix up in his roost. Yeah. Eevee, if she's only pushing him every 10 seconds with the Soar cooldown, this is never going to happen.
No, not at all. She's got to find herself a better angle, and maybe it is taking the left side and trying to play into those left cubbies, because I think it's potentially a blink there. The problem is, on PC, where you have so much more control as far as your sensitivity, realistically, let's put it that way, you can blink and then kind of have an angle where you could shoot, blink back, but it requires a very fast and effective flick. Now, the only way she can really get reliable shots is for the Sornig, so, I mean, is this just a console limitation, or is there a way to kind of better play this for the Eevee here on this map?
Well, this is a little bit of what we saw last week when this was played, was a lot of that just mid-range, trying to land those shots consistently, and it wasn't a whole lot of the Blink 180 shots that we're kind of used to from Eevee, which is just an element of part of the reason why I don't like it. Unless somebody can utilize it to its fullest on console, I just don't feel it's worth the pick.
Might have been really good with the Genos, too, which we've seen paired with so much, and IP specifically just rocking Genos as much as they can. 3 out of the 4 games that they won, they played it. Actually, I believe all 4 games that they... No, 3 out of the 4, right, against, I believe, Virtus Pro. And now, when you look at this, too, you have to see Flashpoint with Skeppy doing a great job of kind of keeping the range that is comfortable for them. Not a lot of mid-range going on, which would maybe start to work in the favor of Stush.
Pretty bold positioning there from Skep. Chico punishes it, makes the rotation up through the portal. Let's see where he elects to go next. Has a line of sight on Prosper Logic. He'll take the duel.
What?
Nico Nuke finishes it up.
Feels like that cleave, maybe I would have expected to hit Prosper as well.
It's confusing. I'm still trying to figure out exactly where you have to be, where the hit triggers and the Leon dash. It can be confusing at times.
Yeah. Especially when you're running for your life as well, hoping you can get some damage.
Oh, no.
Bad time to emote. His body writhing in pain, even from the grave. Ale making some good plays. Liked his contribution today on the front lines, for sure. Good Atlas game last week.
For sure, for sure. 16
seconds remaining.
Now on the clock, Overpowered ready and available. I don't think any ultimates will be coming out. Unless Alley gets picked here, that would be a nice little catalyst to the snowball offense that Timberwolf can often lend itself to. But nobody's really close to being in range of the payload unless Nara's able to waddle out there. So everybody says no.
No waddling for Inara. Unfortunate. But, you know, I think she's still going to have an impact here for Flashpoint World. Somehow makes the right plays at the right time. Not a lot of contribution from Prosper. Despite the damage, not a lot of killing blows. And Chico, deathless.
The world's first Game 7, 0-2 top damage.
Oh, man. There it is. Look at that. And I think that's the thing. Prosper setting records. This is not the direction he wants for this one. However, get the record 2. We'll make the barrack shields a little easier. We'll get that con down. to the place where he's a little vulnerable, and hopefully Skeppy can finish him off. Definitely a high prioritization of Wrecker on all of Flashpoint.
Yeah. A little bit surprising, I guess. A lot of bowling ball, a lot of con stuff coming through. They want to just get it out of the way early. Not much in the way of cauterize, which will allow, Saris is a very, very high throughput healer. She's going to be able to abuse the fact that there's not a lot of cauterize online.
I know Ice Storm there. I thought that was a great time. I mean, he had 2. Now he blinks back. Can't get anything. He took the right angle, made the adjustment, but I thought he was missed opportunity there to really put them in a pickle. At least distract them from the fight so you can win this version of it. But Skeppy's going to clean up Ale, and it's going to be a full Flashpoint win yet again. Really no contest on these objectives.
Somebody hopping onto the objective in the big zone here on Timbermill. Very, very deadly to zone on this map in particular. Grenade connects. Almost takes out the EV. Another Flashpoint offense. Shall commence.
Shall commence. Order another one.
Henceforth be known as the fine people of the realm.
Of the realm of the mill. Flashpoint shall be walking down yet again for their ceremonial parade. It always ends a little early, though. Timbermill known for a lot of those parades down the middle lane of the mill, but none of them quite get to the end. Hopefully this one's a little bit different. Notoriously difficult map to complete on. But 2-1, starting to look good. Already found a couple of kills on the way.
Yeah, this is kind of the hardest point in the Timbermill offense to break, is making sure you get the enemy high ground completely flushed out. One little bastion left to defend from where that Saris is at, but as only keeps things going here for Prosper. Logic throwing him off the map. That might slow Flashpoint down just a little bit.
Like it as well. Really like it. There's that flip we were talking about on the EV. So using an ultimate to really establish just that moment where you can stabilize, and Rain gets the healer off of it. I like what Stush have been doing. And for a team that is winless, I believe, and going against a team that's lossless, we were chatting with Blue a little bit. I mean, what an incredible opportunity that was just in front of them in that 3-3. Is this just a different Flashpoint this week?
Yeah, especially on a map that's pretty decent for Flashpoint. They are going through some changes right now, adding Skeppy. Though it is a pretty superstar player in terms of the overall console scene, sometimes it's not as easy as you might think to integrate.
Adding Kevin Durant.
Yeah, it's not always as automatic as some people might think. There's a decent amount of champion overlap between he and Prosper, both just kind of hit scan guys from back in the day. And I'd say double hit scan is something the console boys have ever been afraid of running.
30 seconds remaining.
And crack shot here used by Skeppy as well, which is an interesting choice, knowing that he's going to have that pressure. And he just waits that one out. But it almost feels like the urgency isn't quite there. Not sure who's setting the pace, to be honest, because you got a chance to take down a front line, but everyone seems to be like kind of standing there. No one's looking for other shots. Skeppy's not trying to find damage onto these backlines, and maybe what's unique to this identity of this map is Prosper. Let's see a look at the KDA yet again if we can. Not sure Prosper, he has improved. Basically went 3-2 in this round as well, but Skeppy doing the lion's work here, the lion's share of the killing blows.
Slowed down on the offense, they just can't get it going, but let's Stush Gaming figure out this point fight. This one's just going to continue to go Flashpoint's way. Good opportunity for a really, heavy-hitting Ice Storm there. And this is just cheeky, camping the teleporter. Everybody coming up and Lambs to the slaughter.
I know. Any other character, I mean, even like someone like a Talus would be fantastic there, even a Koga as well. So much to be able to do, a little mobility to get out if you need it, but so far so good. 2-2. Who would have thought this one would be so contested to start our day off in the PCL? Here's what we have. Timbermill, a map in Paladins that gets a little bit of a bad rap, and I think it's deserved, but it is a bad rap in general. A lot of these moments here.
Yeah, shots from distance looking pretty good. Items starting to be finished as well, so front line's not going to last as long. Oh, shot just barely off the mark. And
okay.
You seem a little frustrated with the EV, and this is kind of what we experienced last week. It's not quite there. It doesn't feel worth.
Well, to me, what I'm trying to figure out is what is the attempt? If you're going to do that, are you going to follow up on your own damage? Do you have an Ice Storm to set them up? Are you just using your cooldowns to then run away and then heal in the fight, because you haven't accomplished much So here's where I look at and I say, this is a great spot, but you're going to have, someone's got to follow up the timing. Oh, that's pretty.
That is cheeky.
That is cheeky right there. You get rid. I mean, you just get the exiles. That was lovely stuff there from Legacy, and not that easy on a soaring Eevee as well.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Great start to the Flashpoint offense, but we've seen this before. The Squirts that can not only keep Leon in combat, but does around like 200 and some change DPS. Keep her on the back foot here. Skeppy on the prowl, if you will.
But here's where I want to see Flashpoint kind of take control here, because I'd like to see some more, and I like this from Prosper, get some angles, get some more advanced positions, force him to look at you and play out in the open so Skeppy can get these killing blows, which he's been doing. So already the adjustment, I think, has been wonderful. And you're also staying away from these big front lines, because that's what's been doing the damage to DPS. Sure, I mean, the ADS trust is serious here. Hip firing of Victor is usually a good idea.
I think I said the exact same thing on like Friday, and I think it's because of that loadout card that's lifesteal while ADS. If he's running a heavy level of that, it looks like he is level 5, so just needing the lifesteal and wanting to risk it for the biscuit. Because hip firing first mode Victor isn't the worst.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I guess you're right. I mean, it's like hitting your shots versus not hitting your shots and life-stealing. It doesn't really...
All's fair in love and war.
Exactly.
I don't know. That's the reason Tenor gave me, because I yelled at him for it. I was like, why do you never just hip fire at that range?
Makes sense.
It's like lifesteal. And I was like, okay,
but you're not hitting your shots because you're ADSing, and it's like an Eevee. And I think that's the fine line, and that's the player's choice, you know, dealer's choice in that one. So who am I to judge the great Prosper Logic's decision-making here?
Especially on Victor. How dare you?
How dare I? How dare I? But yeah, 44 seconds left. Again, the pace. Seems like everyone's pretty content to just ride this puppy out. World Edit pretty exposed here, but he's going to move back. Nice speed there from the Mending Spirit. Swift Spirits, by the way. Yeah, exactly. And now Nico Noob really feeling like his best self in this defense and push.
Skeppy does find the mystical magical pick that might get this one rolling. Nice ultimate spent here. Flashpoint, 2-man advantage now. They can maybe turn this into a little something something. That commander's grab barely missed Skeppy. The good graces of the gods at the moment.
He went right up there. Tries to get the hip fire. Nice stuff from Nico Noob. Nice stuff. Almost went so many different places. I don't think Legacy remembered where he was sending him back to. Here's a barrage. Oh, and it gets the trade. Ice Storm not doing enough damage, and the grenade as well. But Chico with the Enlightenment to avoid the damage and find the kill.
No DPS for Flashpoint. They just got their front lines and their support, trying to keep them propped up as best they can. They should be back any moment now. Skeppy and Prosper taken down. Chico needs to use this time to get this one through. Narrowly escaping death there. Legacy will eventually fall.
Almost had a second chance. World has got to go down, but this Saris, I mean, credit where credit is due. Rain has not gone down easily in this fight, but finally, maybe forcing a little bit of damage. The bowling ball shield is down, and so is the barricade. Rain, is he dead? He is. Storm Avatar finds that one, the last hit, but it was really, really questionable here if Stush are going to be able to hold.
Chico finds a big kill on the Prosper Logic again.
What the heck?
It's just front lines versus supports at this juncture. Setbacks, I don't know if that would do the trick here. Alilo falling lower and lower here. Maybe get onto the support, hit the rotation. DPS and defender's advantage just starting to pile up in favor of Stush.
I mean, Seismic Crash, can it get off? That's the question. I don't think so. They're going to have to go to the next round. My goodness. Everyone gambled a little bit there. Nobody really won. I guess you could say that it was in favor of Stush Gaming as far as the trade, but they did use a few resources heading into this last one. And maybe, Nick, it's really just the fact that there's not a lot of aggressiveness, because, man, Stush have not really allowed Flashpoint to play their usual game.
Yeah, Flashpoint getting some graceful kills there. 15 and 5 for Skeppy. Prosper still in the red here at 6 and 7.
Unusual.
Yeah, maybe it's that Eevee pressure. I don't know. He's definitely had to take some risks here. There is no real flanker to open up space. The tanks haven't been super aggressive either. It's tough to do with Atlas and Inara when you have 0 mobility. Sometimes it just takes a dive from somebody, anybody really. And Prosper, as Victor, just so happens to be the highest mobility character, which isn't saying a lot.
Maybe instead of burst mode, it'll be cardio next patch, then it'll be rocking.
And you won't need to ADS for the lifesteal.
Exactly, dude. It's just going to be a win-win here.
Look at us solving problems.
Skeppy actually drops the second Saris goes into his field of view there, and so he misses a shot. And there's Nico Noob. They're ready for it.
Hit that.
And look at that. Nico, he's in trouble there. Chico, though, responds. Oh, my God. Peaking with 79 health. A dangerous game indeed. Now Prosper's got to take over.
But already 78% garnered on the objective. Flashpoint off to a great start here. And now everyone's eyes have to turn towards the point. They can't be too worried. Nice scoop there. Prosper does not beat the Enlightenment. A lot of good things happening in the back line.
Yeah, 3-3, 90%. But Storm Avatar looks like he could go down. Good slither, buy some time. And Chico gets the kill, but Prosper drops down. And he is too late to save his healer, however. He knows Nico is somewhere nearby. 96%. And there it is, the duel that he's been looking for. And he gets it.
Wow.
Big shots.
Definitely just takes it down. Convergence will pull him in, stays alive by a narrow margin. Huge lead off the start. Can't stress how important the 78% lead was for Flashpoint. They're able to kind of really use that cushion to get everybody back in a position here and get a second go.
And now what's so unfortunate is with all these records, that dome shield, they're just not going to shoot it, but might have been able to get rid of it very quickly. Stush have to have someone on the point. They have to be exposed. 15-48, that really hurts Nico in his rotations because he got to wait for the heal. He's going to go into the ice block, but now he doesn't have that to kind of buy some time. Ice Storm there. Maybe able to help out, but he's got to get a big target.
I mean, it's Inara. That's where she was trying to be anyway. You locked her down exactly where she wanted to be on the objective, 99% to 78. Another Earth and Guard will come through. Flashbang flying, and Skeppy hitting the big shots.
And Nico trying to make a play, and he does. He finds Skeppy. What can he do off of this? They still have the support. Prosper's got to find something. And I think his focus needs to be into the back line, but he's not been able to do it. Seismic Crash here. Overtime taking away. The headshots are here, but look at Saris keeping this Barrack alive. Finally, enough burst to shut this down. That has been the true dynamic duo here.
Yeah, would it kill you to put some pressure on the support? I mean, she's just been free healing the whole time, but they get it done the old-fashioned way with the strength of their guns. 99% Exile ready. Maybe blinks back. Overtime reset. Just one last time. Leon with a suicide dive onto the objective.
Killing spree.
Valiant effort.
Yeah, and unbelievable how this fight's still going. But Flashpoint find the victory. Was not easy. That is for sure. Flashpoint definitely not looking themselves today. And shout outs to Stush for maybe putting the pressure on them.
Yeah, they do some good stuff for sure. Make it, even though it's not the prettiest slash line at the end of the day, the Eevee does turn some heads, makes us victor, and Skeppy kind of preoccupied with a flanker they wouldn't have otherwise needed to be worried about in Timbermill.
Well, you know, we love to see the variety of champions, but Flashpoint, nothing, no variety there. They get another win in the PCL, continue doing well, incorporating Skeppy. Let's send it back to the desk and get ready for our next set.
Thank you, Evan. Thank you, Nick. Set number 1 is in the books for the day, and Flashpoint find themselves another 3-0. They don't drop a map this time to Stush. But Gore, it was really contended. I mean, that was not a clean, I would say, 3-0 for Flashpoint.
And that's just one of those areas, especially, I think Stone Keep is way more telling just because that is one of Flashpoint's best maps. But when you go to Timbermill, like, it's very difficult and notoriously difficult to get that push through. It's very difficult to maintain control over an objective if you make one slip up. They kept the objective the entire time, and I think that was mostly in part to Skeppy having the Strix. And because Nico was just not able to have the same amount of pressure, I think, you want to see out of an Eevee to deal with a sniper. And then when it came to the push, I mean, whether or not you're going to get it doesn't matter. You have the point fight.
I mean, the second to last, or I guess the last defensive stand for Stush going, that's tooth and nail the entire time. The final point fight as well, also tooth and nail. Legacy, we talked about ALL really picking up this Atlas last week and making his presence felt, and he had a great, I think, a good week this week as well. But Legacy, pregame, he was mentioned a lot, and he picked up the Atlas this week, and he looked really, really good on it. We talked about the importance of sort of the aggressive front line and what it opens up for the rest of your team, and Legacy did exactly that today.
And that is exactly, I think, what it comes down to is the fact that with the impact I think Atlas can have in the way that Legacy plays, I actually think this is very fitting for him. It's the same thing that I've seen very much out of like him playing Makoa. I love seeing him play aggressive front lines because I think it opens up like his inner beast, right? Like he gets to come out and do the work that he does like right there. I mean, he's rushing down a Saris as a front line, which is something that's not too outlandish to say, but like just knowing that it's like, I'm not going to get punished for this. And like, if you try, cool. Let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens. And what happens is you win 3-0. Flashpoint 9-0 on top of the standings, 26 plus minus, so still the one lowly map loss to Stush Gaming, who have been looking a lot better here recently. Aerial Arise get the 3-0 as well over Aaron Monner. So the standings still pretty solidified from where we've seen them in the past. Moving forward to LAN, it looks like Flashpoint's just going to continue building on a lot of the good that they've already brought. I mean, at this point for them, I don't know all the math behind it off the top of my head, but it's probably just hammering out those dents and getting everything all organized for LAN.
I mean, that's where their eyes need to be, right? The other three teams in this region, like Aerial Arise is still in a position where in the future, especially if they keep this grind up, I could see them and Flashpoint starting to go toe-to-toe. They still have a lot of work to do to get there, but I think that's in their future. Whereas you look at Aaron Manor, you look at Stush, your goal at this point is just don't lose as hard, right? That's really going to be your goal when it comes down to it. Flashpoint's the only team that needs to be looking for LAN, and that's where I want to see, like, let's play with the meta a little bit. Let's try to pick up some things that aren't in our comfort zone to get them ready, because I think that's going to be what it comes down to when it comes to big matchups.
Absolutely, I agree. Flashpoint looking great in our first set of the day. We're going to send it to a quick break, but when we come back, we have another team whose eyes are set on LAN. We have Cyclone, we have Bust Down as well playing against them. It's going to be a great one. We'll see you after this.
Brought to you by Skillshot, Hi-Res Studios, Evil Mojo, INAP, SteelSeries, Respawn.